AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
I had that dream again. My small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So then I'm doing IT, and when I go to plug the servers in, they become sentient, and they won't let us access our network unless we forward their chain emails and memes to more and more and more people, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant finds and invites best fit candidates to apply, so you can discover talent you may have missed. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
Welcome to the Casting Across Fly Fishing Podcast. I'm Matthew of castingacross.com, where I explore the quarry and culture of fly fishing. All right, so you've seen the title of this episode. If you haven't, you're looking at your phone or your screen right now to figure it out. But before we get to the answer to that question, I want to lead in with a backstory, because this topic, I have a personal backstory that leads into it, but it's one that is shared by a number of people I've had face-to-face conversations with and that I've seen countless times online. Now, everyone's going to have their perspective, everyone's going to have their opinion. However, I want to address this particular question or this particular issue from my perspective, and one that I think will be beneficial to you if you are wondering, what is the real benefit of going to a fly fishing show? So it must have been 20 years ago, and I was living in South Central Pennsylvania. At this point in time, I was a director of a fly fishing camp. I was living on a very, very popular spring creek, and I was fishing 4, 5, 6 times a week. I was married with no kids, and I was in graduate school, and I had a very flexible work schedule, and so I was living and breathing fly fishing. It's a wonderful, wonderful time of life. But it was January, and although I fished 12 months of the year and every week out of the year, there was an outdoor show that was happening. Now, this was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, at the Farm Show Complex, which is, this is where they have their monster truck rallies, and this is where they have the circus, and this is where they have the farm show itself. It's quite the big to-do in Harrisburg. But the outdoor show had been advertised, and it was hunting and fishing, conventional, as well as some fly fishing, but also camping, RV, hiking, anything and all things outdoor in January, which makes a lot of sense because most of the hunting seasons were over, and a lot of the closed water was closed to fishing, and so it was a great time to have this function when a lot of the outdoors folk were not outdoors. And so I went to it. And I walked through the aisles. I saw all the outfitters. I saw all of the equipment vendors. I went to every exhibition hall, saw the big indoor archery shoot, went into the place where they were, hawking jerky and weird flavors of pickles and things like that. Walked through everything. I had my little wad of money in my pocket, and I left a few hours later. And I can remember to this day driving southbound on I-81, going over the Susquehanna River, talking to my wife on the phone saying, you know what, it was fun. I appreciate, going. I just don't think I'm going to be going to anything like that anytime soon. I think my time would be much better spent on the water, and I can buy anything I need at the local fly shop. Now, both of those sentiments are true in a sense. It's great to spend time on the water, and you can and should buy virtually anything and everything you need at your local fly shop. But fast forward to 2012. I know it was 2012 because my wife was quite pregnant, and my son had yet to be born, and we went to the fly fishing show in Marlborough, Massachusetts. Now, we'd moved up in 2010, and I had fished in New England since I moved up to the Boston area, but I just really wasn't as plugged in as I had been when I was living in Pennsylvania. Now, life had changed. My job was much more demanding. My family was growing, bought a house, all that sort of stuff. But I said, I kind of want a kickstart to get my mind back into fly fishing, especially because I'm going to be having a child, and I know I want him or her at this point in time. I didn't know it was a son, to be involved in fly fishing, and so I really want to kind of get my mind back into it after like a year and a half of really taking a back seat to a lot of other responsibilities. And so I went. Hadn't gone to any sort of outdoor show, large or small, for, like I said, at this point, almost 10 years. And I had a wonderful time. I met a lot of new people. I reconnected with folks I hadn't seen in a long time. I saw some new products. I saw some really interesting, outfitters and guides and programs. And then I remember going to a couple of programs. I'd read a lot about Euro nymphing. I'd gone to a fly shop and wiggled a Euro rod around, but I'd never really known much about it outside of a few YouTube videos. But I went to a presentation. Very knowledgeable angler, went through the whole spiel, and I went up and asked questions, some of the things that I was a little bit curious about, some things I was skeptical about, and got one-on-one answers. Then I actually went to a Tenkara demonstration by who was then the founder and the guy who ran Tenkara USA, Daniel Gallardo, and he walked through his entire product line, and he talked about fly fishing. I said, well, how would this help me up in New England? And he'd fished up here before, and so he kind of had that personal conversation about that. And I just remember walking out and being really excited about fly fishing and being excited about kind of learning more. So I say this to say that if you go and you're expecting only to walk the aisles, you're probably going to not see the real value. But if you're going because there's a whole lot more there, you're going to get a lot more out of it. Now, if your time is limited, if your resources are limited, and you say, you know what, I either can go fishing one day this month or I go to this fly fishing event one day this month, then by all means, go fishing. If you know that you need X, Y, and Z and you have zero interest in any of the other letters of the alphabet, then go online or go to a fly shop and get X, Y, and Z. But if you're curious, or if you just want to go out and do something fun, then going to an event like this, it could be the fly fishing show, it can be the Virginia Fly Fishing and Wine Festival, it can be any number of the smaller local events that I see advertised on social media across the country. I've been to some tremendous events that fly shops put on. I've been to some wonderful events that Trout Unlimited chapters put on. And I've been to even some great events that include a lot of fly fishing content that is put on by just local sportsman clubs or state agencies. So these things are all over the place. But I wanted to give you a little bit of an encouragement of how to spend your time. So this episode is dropping the day before the first scheduled fly fishing show of the fly fishing show circuit. So hey, maybe you're driving there right now and this can be helpful to you. Or you're on the fence about going tomorrow. Or it's in the middle of July and your local angling organization is putting on some program. These are some things that you should be thinking about as you go into it. The first one is this is a great way to support small businesses. I'm dead serious. This is a great way to support small businesses. How can you say that? It's a giant convention hall with this big, what seems to be a corporation running this whole thing. Well, guess who is at those tables? Guess who's at those booths? It's Fly Tires that are running this out of the a corner of their living room, but they have a booth at the fly fishing show or at an outdoor show. It is a person who has come up with some sort of device or some sort of gadget that they think is beneficial. More often than not, it's somebody who is an angler who said, I didn't like how X, Y, and Z sold by the big companies didn't meet my needs. So I, messing in my garage or talking to a friend who's in machining or in fabricating, put something together. And here, I spent a couple $100 to sit here for the weekend and show this to you and give you a sticker and give your kid a lollipop. This is an opportunity to go and support someone like that. It's a local boutique fly fishing and other outdoor niche companies that, again, probably run stuff out of their garage or a storage unit or their basement. They don't have a storefront. They don't have that kind of exposure. And because so much of what we do is tangible, we want to be able to touch it. You want to be able to see it. And that's why we love fly shops. This is their only opportunity. They may be in one or two local fly shops, but coming to an event like this is probably the best opportunity for exposure. And one of the cool things for me, having gone to these fly fishing shows in a number of capacities, all the way back in 2012 as simply a guy walking around, up to these last few years presenting at the fly fishing show and everything in between, working booths with different companies, providing some different services and programs. I've seen some companies that they went there, they had a very, very modest little booth, and here we are almost 15 years later, and they are enormous name and a relatively, small group of industry names. And so for me, that's really cool to see how this kind of exposure and the networking it provides for them, both with consumers and other people in the industry, is a great way to raise the tide and have all of the ships go up. So that's the first thing I would say is don't think that this is only supporting the big names. I'm looking forward to going in a week from now down to Edison. And yes, all the big companies are going to be there. Your Farbank, which is Sage and Reddington and Rio, and Orvis is going to be there. TFO is going to be there. Sims and Patagonia, all those companies are going to be there. Yes, and that's great, because they bring a lot of people in the door. But then there's also the small mom and pop companies that have a very, simple Spartan booth, but what they have to offer is something that is really beneficial for them that weekend or that group of weekends out of the year when they're going to some sort of expo or some sort of show where it is a sacrifice to them, because they probably have a normal gig they're doing Monday to Friday, and now they're working again Friday to Sunday. So that's my first encouragement to you. Whether it is somebody who is selling a product or somebody who is tying flies, you are, without a doubt, unquestionably supporting small businesses when you go to events like this. Second thing is better than YouTube. It's better than YouTube. So yes, on YouTube, you get high production value. You get a whole day or a whole weekend's worth of content smashed into 5 minutes with cool transitions. You get to see fish getting caught, things like that. But this is awesome when you get to go and sit in a metal chair. If you have a bad back, bring a cushion. Sit in a metal chair or a cushion chair if you get to be in one of the nice rooms, and you get to watch someone tie flies. And they are talking as they're tying a fly. And this is not going to be a 7-minute YouTube video. This is going to be a 35, 40-minute presentation. And they're going to walk through not just what they're doing, but why they're doing it. And because they have you as a little bit of a captive audience and you don't have something that you can just click on off to the right on your screen, they're going to go into more and greater detail. And these are incredibly valuable resources. These are ways that not just teach you how to tie a fly, but they get you thinking about why and how you tie a fly. Sitting and watching somebody tie a fly or wrap a rod or do any other activity in front of you live is in many ways so much more beneficial than just watching it online. Online's good, and if all you have is online, then that's great. And it's hard to complain about the resources that we have on our phone and on our computer screen today in the 21st century. However, being able to get that personal touch, and then when you're done, and as they're cleaning up their stuff, walking up and saying, hey, why did you use that side of the feather instead of the other side of the feather? Or why did you choose to use this material over that material? Or why are you choosing to finish your wraps like this as opposed to like that? What an invaluable opportunity. And I have never, and again, there's always some bad seeds, I've never had someone say, I don't have time for that. I got to go back to my booth and talk to other people. I don't want to talk to you. All right. Casting instructions, the same thing. There are opportunities for personal casting instruction. And actually, at a lot of these events, there are groups, whether it be Fly Fishers International or Trout Unlimited, you go down the list, and they will have actually like a beginner casting instruction opportunity, which I think is fantastic. If you pick this up yourself because somebody got you a fishing rod for Christmas, a fly rod for Christmas, or your birthday or something like that, and all you've done is mess around, and you say, I still feel like what I'm getting from the books, what I'm getting from YouTube, what I've done flailing around in the grass by myself isn't enough. Here you can get a free casting instruction more often than not. That's worth your 20, 25, 15, whatever dollars admission just on its face. Definitely go do that. And if you are already an advanced caster, there's opportunities for you as well. But you can go, and most of them have casting demonstrations. And again, this is great to be able to see all the variables, to be able to watch the line and how it interplays with the surface tension of the water on particular casts is so incredibly helpful for me. When I'm not a two-hand caster by any stretch of the imagination. I've done it and I've enjoyed it, but I don't own a single two-handed rod, and I've only done it a few times, kind of under supervision of a fly fishing guide. But for me, those concepts are great, and watching somebody do it online is nice. But to watch someone do it on water at one of these events, it really started to make things click as to how some of these casts work utilizing surface tension. You can't get that from a book, at least not from a book that I've seen. So that's another thing. So yes, you're supporting small businesses. You're getting something better than YouTube. And I would say you're getting something better than the internet, period, or a print catalog. So I mean, for years and years, I still to this day do it. My kids have gotten this from me. I get a fly fishing catalog and I go page by page and I look at what's new, I look at what's changed, and even I don't need a whole lot of stuff, but I'm just curious as to what's out there. And a lot of fly fishers are the same way. But more than new products, you get new ideas. Like I said before, is there something new out there? Is it two-hand casting? It's not new, of course, but is it new to you? Have you said, I got into fly fishing a couple of years ago, conventional fly rod. I am interested in Euro nymphing. This gives you a hands-on opportunity. Could your local fly shop do that? Absolutely. And I would encourage you to go and check them out. But here you get to have, potentially all of the different things in front of you at one point in time. And then you need to grab it and go cast and maybe try a few different rods out. You also have opportunities to, see different places you can go fishing, talk to different outfitters, different guides. I think this is great. I have never booked a guided trip with somebody I haven't talked to first. And part of it is because I want to know that this person understands why I want to go fishing. I don't mind spending the money on a guide. I just want to have a little bit of an interaction. And it's been really cool at the fly fishing shows and different outdoor shows to be able to make contact with guides and have a little brief conversation with them. And it's made me more excited about booking with them. It's made me more excited about saying, yeah, this is definitely somebody that I want to spend my time and money with because, it's not a small investment. So to be able to get ideas of where you can go, go to talk to people and say, oh, I didn't realize that that was as close and as accessible and as affordable as it is. Or I always thought I wanted to go here, but after talking to you, I guess maybe something a little bit different it would fit my my interests and my desires better. To be able to get those new ideas and then the people that are attached to it, I think is really, really helpful. And I think people is another important aspect of this as well. You're exposed to people that you may have been following on social media. It's not creepy or not weird. People do that. They say, hey, I follow you on Casting Across. Awesome. It's nice to meet you, and have a little conversation. The same thing with all these fly tyers, all of these, small businesses, all of these authors. It's a wonderful opportunity to say, hey, I really appreciate how you did this. I have questions about why you did that. And have that short conversation. There are very few people that are so busy at any of these events that they can't talk to you. Now, if you were to go to like a big bass fishing event, one of the people with the really sparkly boats and the cool NASCAR jackets, they probably have a line waiting for them. But if fly fishing is your bag, then there's a very good chance that any and everybody is going to make time to have a conversation with you. And of course, the exposure does extend itself to new products. I am and have been an advocate and a champion of fly shops. And one of the awesome things about so many of these shows that those big companies that I was mentioning earlier, the Thomas & Thomas and the Sage and the Redington and the Orvis and the TFO, St. Croix, all of these companies that show up at these fly fishing shows and at these outdoor shows, virtually every one of them is not going to sell you something at that show. Everything they have is there on display. And what they will say is they say there are some fly shops that have kind of cut their operations in half for this particular show, and they have a booth over, across the exhibition hall. Or you can find a fly shop in our catalog here of all of our local retailers, and then you can go check them out. Once again, here you have this symbiotic relationship of even companies like Orvis, like Farbank, that do offer a direct-to-consumer model at these events to a company and to a man are pushing people to go and spend their money with smaller businesses. Now, that small business might be an organization or a company that owns 5 fly shops. However, it also could be a company that is one singular fly shop that wants that exposure, that wants to bring in some stuff they want to move, and they have a booth at these events. So yes, you can get exposed to new products, whether it be the new fly rod to this year or the fly rod that, it might be a little more niche. This is actually one of the things I think is kind of cool is oftentimes at these events, the big retailers bring their entire lineup, everything that they have to offer, or at least a representation of everything they have to offer. And so things that a fly shop might not have that you could special order in, you can go and play with at one of these events. And so, yeah, I now that I got a chance to cast it, I am going to go to my local fly shop and order it. So, yeah, could you do it the wrong way? Yeah, you could do it the wrong way, but There's plenty of options and opportunities to do things the right way and, again, benefit everybody in that setting. You'll see new stuff. Go play with things. Go hands-on. Go pick up this reel. Feel how it feels. Listen to how it clicks. Go to the other reel. Do the same thing and say, yep, you know what? I think I'm going to go with this particular model. And then if you find it at a vendor at that show or you have a local fly shop, you can go and pick it up. It's an awesome way to do some kind of comparison shopping, pick things up, and then there's deals. This is the last thing. So you can support small businesses. Some of these interactions, most of these interactions are way better than YouTube. There's exposure to all sorts of new ideas, people, and stuff. And then, of course, you can buy stuff. And this kind of touches all of those. You can buy stuff and it will benefit a small business, whether it's a fly shop or whether it is a company that is a relatively small company. You can pick up, one of the things that I always joke about is the guys who are in there sorting through bucktails and sorting through rooster capes and sorting through bins and bins of flies. Like, that's awesome. If that is how you want to go and spend your time and money, then that's great. These are not giant mega corporations that are selling saddle hackle, right? This is a relatively small company, and they are providing, usually, because they're going to be working in volume, working in bulk, a better deal than you could find online. And so it's a great opportunity to pick something up. And even if it's just kind of a token thing, I'm going to go to the show and I'm going to come home with, enough materials to tie a fly I watched somebody tie at that show. Awesome. What a great little, goal to have and a nice little tradition. I'm going to go and I'm going to buy a new fishing shirt. And this is going to be my fishing shirt for the year. Or I'm going to get a new hat for the season because I sweat through one every year. If it's something small like that, yeah, absolutely, buy stuff. Or say, I'm going to book my big fly fishing trip, my big weekend in Iceland, whatever it may be, have that goal and go and make it happen. So there is my apology, if you will, for going to outdoor shows. It might not be your bag, and you may have had a bad experience. You may feel like you dropped 10 or 20 bucks and it just was a waste of time and it was only people trying to sell you stuff. But I think that the real benefit of going to an outdoor show, the real benefit of going to a fly fishing show lies as you look a little bit deeper. Be willing to have a conversation. Be willing to go sit in a side room and watch a presentation. Be willing to pick something up, pick two things up and compare them side to side. Be willing to just go a little bit deeper. And that's where you will not only walk away with more knowledge about a product or with a product in your pocket, but you will walk away with a richer experience of the culture of fly fishing, the people, places, and things that go into the pursuit of fish. You might not get as jazzed about it as I do, and that's okay. But I think that there's something there for everyone. And I think another cool thing is that for a lot of these smaller events, ones that are put on by local TU chapters or local fishing in game rod and gun clubs, is that a lot of that money does pours directly back into some of the initiatives that they have, conservation programs, or even just keeping the lights on. So if it's a big event, it's the largest one in the country, as the one in Pennsylvania claimed to be, or if it's a teeny tiny one that maybe only has a dozen exhibitors, but they've got really, really good hot dogs on the hot dog roller, then it might be worth a couple hours. And we didn't even get into this, but man, kids love it. Kids absolutely love it. And people love having kids there. They get lots of stickers and they get lots of lollipops and they have a great time. So there you go. There's my apology. If you have any questions, comments, accusations for what I'm saying the real value of an outdoor show, a fly fishing show is, let me know. Matthew at castingacross.com. I would love to hear it. This week on castingacross.com. Hey, I'm sticking to my New Year's resolution. I'm writing more just writing stuff on Casting Across, okay? So there you go. We're 15 days in as of the recording of this podcast. This article, Monday, was called Fly Fishing, Lost and Found, and an Edsel. What in the world does that mean? Well, this is about the stuff that I found while fly fishing. It is an incomplete list, but it is a representative list and includes probably the largest thing that I have found while out fly fishing. So definitely give that a read. Most of these articles I write, they're between 500 and 800 words. So that's like 5 to 10 minutes. So give that a go. All right. Wednesday's article was another video for any angler who has loved to stream. And this is one of those books in this book review video on YouTube that I almost feel silly talking about, but because it's such a good book and popular book and a well-read book and a reprinted book. But I'm just constantly reminded about how few, like, again, I'm a pastor and I do a lot of theological reading. How many just absolutely necessary and essential books that have been in church history that I haven't read, right? I mean, they're maybe on my shelf, they might be on my list, but there's just a lot that I haven't read. The same is probably true for you as a reading angler. But Nick Lyons' Spring Creek, 1992, was a phenomenal book. I have nothing but good things to say about it. And for me, it was given to me by somebody who cared about me as an angler, and really his story resonated with Lyon's story, and he was seeing mine and the creek that we were fishing do the same thing. So it was a story with a story, and that's why I decided to share this short video. You can see that, of course, on YouTube, but as well, it'll be on Instagram and on Facebook. This week's recommendation on the podcast is a brand I've talked about before. It is Angler's Coffee. There's an interview with the founder of Angler's Coffee somewhere on the website. But today I'm recommending Angler's Coffee's fantastic little product, their single serve bags. They look like tea bags, but they have coffee in them. And they have 2 roasts. They have their dry dropper blend and their Bass Heads roast. The reason I was thinking about this coffee is because they always have somebody representing them at one of the fly fishing shows. And I lean on them heavily come like 2 or 3 o'clock, and maybe even earlier than that, after a day of walking around, giving the presentations, doing that thing. But fantastic coffee. It's great in whole bean. It's great ground up, and it's fantastic in these little single serve pouches if you are planning on bringing a little jet boil when you are fishing, or if you are in some sort of circumstance where you can't have a normal traditional brewing situation. So I'll put a link to this page. Now, it does also include, this page includes kind of their K-Cups. I've never used those before. I assume they're good. I'm not a huge K-Cup fan, but their little brew bags, the coffee pouches is what they call them, are really what I'm encouraging to go towards. They retail for $22.50 for 10. So yeah, $2 for a cup of coffee. That's a good cup of coffee. Is definitely, I think, worth it, especially if you are on the go. You can find the link for that in this podcast show notes over at castingacross.com. Thanks for listening to the Casting Across Fly Fishing Podcast. Please subscribe to your favorite podcast app and rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Then head over to castingacross.com for 3 posts a week on the people, places, and things that go into the pursuit of fish.